just like this multi-threat.
I breathe. Yeah, I do that one pretty well.
And last night, I heard she killed it last night. We have John Lay. He is a Twitch guy.
Yeah.
Twitch. He's huge on Twitch. And he's also an artist. He's an amazing artist by his stuff. I do that. Then we have over there, oh my God, he has my life. Music producer of some of the cleverest comedic videos I have ever seen. Proud Canadian foodie traveler, Gunnarolla. And over there we have an actor, producer, advocate for Asian and LGBTQ representation, and the king of BuzzFeed. This is so fun. You guys are so fun. I kind of want to get a sense of who you are out there before we get started talking. Like who's a creator out there? How many creators do we have? Awesome, we need you. That's awesome. So everybody else, fans? We got lots of fans? How about Asians? Do we have any Asians? I also want to ask if there's any like South Asians out there, because we're not really represented up here. We're the South. Yeah, right. Loud and proud. Just want you to know we see you. We see you out there, right? Okay. They want to hear from you guys. So I just kind of want to jump right in and like talk about, what is the current state of API representation right now in the various platforms that you guys dawdle in? Like, what's it look like from the top? Do you see us up there?
We have Emma Stone and Scarlett Johansson. Just like mad Asians everywhere.
It's ubiquitous.
Yeah, it's good to have those folks.
I mean, like, YouTube is an amazing space because it's more diverse than like any other traditional media. I think a lot of what happens in traditional media is like Asians get grouped together on shows like Fresh Off the Boat, which are great, but like those are the only opportunities for the Asian community to exist if you are exclusively being Asian, which I think is something that, people of color want to move away from, of just being your one identity.
Yeah, I think YouTube in general, and really just 2017 and where we are in humanity, people are accepting more of regardless of whatever race or religion or sexual orientation, which is such an exciting time right now to be Asian or to be a human in general, because people aren't judging you so much off of what you look like on the outside. Like, they will talk to you, they will watch your content, they'll go for what's deeper inside, which I'm super excited about, because we're kind of the people that are pushing it too, and you too. Like, everyone here, we're all here for the same reason. We're a part of this movement, getting away from the whitewashing in traditional media, which is why YouTube is so great, because it's you broadcasting you for who you are. You're celebrating your differences. And I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Woo! Woohoo! John, I kind of want to hear from you on this too, about what representation is looking like over on Twitch.
Yeah, I honestly was kind of nervous about that question because I feel like there wasn't really an issue. I feel like there's so many different people of so many different races and genders that are doing stuff on Twitch all over. We just had a huge Twitch Unity campaign that was great, and yeah, it doesn't seem, I don't know, I see it through the creative side and the gaming side, there's tons of all sorts of people.
Andrew, how about the travel world? Are you the only one doing it, or what?
Well, no, I don't think I'm the only one in the travel world, but having started on YouTube a long time ago, I'll go out there and say I think the Asian American community was foundational to really embracing YouTube and showing the potential of what we could be, right? Because that was our place to go and make video blogs and make skits and make music, and it didn't have to be about the fact that we were Asian. So it was somewhere we could finally control how we were represented, because we weren't necessarily represented in the mainstream media. So I started early. There was a place for Asians there. I've transitioned into more travel content. I will say that it's maybe not as diverse as I would like it to be. And when I think of the top travel creators, it's still pretty white.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just motivation for you guys if you're interested in travel and sharing your experiences to start creating. Am I allowed to curse?
Please.
Sorry, parents. Just prefacing that, I'm a gross human being. Yeah, I have a lot of fucking thoughts about this, but I'm just gonna put it down to one thing, which is, there's a lot of issues with mainstream media and why Asians haven't gotten to the types of roles and visibility that we need, and how YouTube and the internet have kind of sped up that process organically. You take something like BuzzFeed, where it is essentially a studio, but it's all determined by the audience. And the main properties we have that became the most successful, Try Guys, Worth It, Unsolved, and Ladylike, all have an Asian lead.
And Violet.
And Violet.
Fuck you, Eugene.
No,
And also me.
Well, I wanted you to jump in on that. I wanted to give that to you. But yeah, no, all of our main properties have an Asian lead, and that's totally determined by an international audience. So the excuse that Hollywood says that it's because of money or viewers is total bullshit. It's just there is an issue up top somewhere, and it's not the actor's fault necessarily. We have to be looking at studio execs, and we have to be looking at whoever's funding these things. But if you just look at the internet, I mean, we're getting it here, which I think is pretty awesome, and eventually mainstream media is going to follow suit.
Can you? I want to know what percentage of your audience is Asian. Do you know?
Ashley, you want to take that one?
Our audience at BuzzFeed, it was one of the things that surprised me the most. Our audience is very, very global. Around 50 to 60% are from the United States, and we don't get too many race dynamics from there. But the rest is very global, and so we have viewers in all continents and countries, which is really cool. And I think that's something that's awesome too. Is we do have a strong Asian following, but that's not the reason people follow us. It's just they like the kind of content we make, and us being Asian is an afterthought. I literally had not ever thought about the fact that BuzzFeed has an Asian lead in every show, which is actually a little bit mind-blowing. We're slowly taking over.
I want to know how much right now. It's such the world is so saturated in rage. You know what I mean? I'm just wondering, how much activism plays a part in your content, and if it does well on your channels, what's doing well, and how much you insert activism into it. Anybody?
I don't really do much of the activism thing. I kind of my message in my own personal channel. The thing with art is, and any kind of content creation, is we're all trying. I think it's really easy to fall into this trap where you're trying to emulate what you think will be successful and stuff. And on my channel, whether you're white, black, Asian, whatever, it's my whole message is to believe in yourself and believe in your content and just share it.
Yeah, I think activism is interesting because it's I do mainly comedy, scripted comedy, and so there are topics that we touch on that do feel like we're trying to push the boundaries of LGBTQ storylines and just race relations in general, but never in quite a directed way, because that's what's so special about media, is being able to kind of tell stories through characters instead of just yelling at people and making signs. But on my Twitter, it's half comedy and hungover tweets, and then half rage. So there's a lot of I do think there are different platforms that you can be more political on, but it does seem a little weird, particularly if you're doing lifestyle content or a dance video, it seems very strange to insert that.
Yeah, a dance video would be really confusing for everyone.
Dresses
I do think, though, I really appreciate the very outspoken Asian activists out there, because I don't think any of us are certainly in that sort of social justice category, but as a culture, we get stereotyped a lot for being silent. And you see with the Twitter rage share, even with films like Great Wall and Ghost in the Shell, the public reaction did play into the ticket sales not doing well. Yeah. So it is good to be angry sometimes. You can practice at home. Get in the mirror and start yelling, because that's my one word of advice. You don't have to tweet it, but get some rage out.
Yeah.
I'm all about that.
It seems like it might just be enough to just be out there, to be yourself and be Asian and be doing your Asian thing, and because not everybody wants to get political.
No, but I do think, as people who have influence and have a platform, we do have a little bit of a responsibility to talk about that when it's appropriate. So, like you were saying, dealing with things with humor, I've taken some racist comments that I've gotten, and if I can turn it into a teachable moment, then I will address it. Or, whitewashing. I did a parody of Mulan's reflection, and every time I looked at my reflection, it Andre was an actor in Yellowface. So I felt like that was an interesting way to like throw it back to everyone and make them think about more critically about how we consume that stuff.
I'm wondering what ways that being an Asian performer has made it easier for you. Does that make sense? Has it made it easier or more difficult for you being an Asian performer? Because there's tokenism, which if you can talk about how that can actually help one person, but are you finding that it's easy or?
You know what? I don't actually think about being Asian that often in terms of like. I mean, aside from the fact that I am, like, I don't think about it in terms of career and that kind of thing because to me it's not my main identity point. Just like I wouldn't take someone's race as their main identity point. It's like, are they a kind person? Are they funny? Are they, all these other traits? I do think it can be beneficial, and I think it's important to use all the avenues that you have if you're a creator. There are a lot of diversity programs and a lot of ways to get your foot in the door that, like, there is a backfill that we need to fill, but I don't necessarily think that. At least personally, I don't think about being Asian. Maybe I should think about it more.
It's not your first waking.
I'm like, am I Asian? What the hell?
I'm still Asian. Okay, we're good.
So are there areas in the online world where you feel like there's a dearth of Asians? Like we're like, oh man, we need more Asians over there. Like, get me some more Asians.
I don't know. In response to my very good friend Ashley's comment, I actually think a lot about being Asian. Like, it might be constant, but I'm also most known for being in a cast full of white men. So it's funny because I'm quite cognizant of it because I have a background in film. There's this stereotype that went around with the Try Guys that Eugene was just the best at everything, but I am. So my advice is to surround yourself with 3 lesser white people. And you'll always look really awesome. I'm kidding.
I'm telling them you said that.
Yeah.
It's already on the air.
No, but it was actually me. I remember thinking, like, I can't be the one ethnic person in this cast and lose and stuff. It was actually a insecurity I had starting this group because I didn't want to be a side character that lost because we've seen that. So I actually pushed myself extra hard, and then I just made sure to remind them after I beat them that I was Asian. So I just like win at something, and I'd be like, kimchi. And so it is a question where we want to make it both, where we're not thinking about it, but you're also thinking about it. And it's a shame that people of color and minorities have to do that, but that is kind of the way you live, right? You're like not thinking about it, but you're always cognizant of it. And for us, it's really about just making sure what we're doing is positive, interesting, and hopefully like funny and shareable for video creators. Yeah, just yell kimchi whenever you win it.
Good note. I feel like I'm Filipino, and I feel like anytime I do any content that's more Filipino driven, I get way more views. I do every now and then I'll do like a cooking video. I just made lugao. I've made chicken adobo. I've made pancit before. I made lumpia. And every time I do, I think even just the SEO of writing Filipino in the title gets so many clicks. And I always make a joke that the two types of people that have the most pride in their heritage, I feel like, are Filipinos and people from Chicago. They like ride or die Chicago everything. And I think the same with Filipinos, just from my own personal standpoint. So I think it's really exciting that there's so many supportive people just because you are similar to someone else in heritage. And I also think what Eugene is saying, like that Asians can't be bad at things, is a really funny thing, because right when I'm like meeting another Asian person or Filipino person, I'm like, okay, hi, I'm Megan, I'm Filipino, which is not usually what I say, but they're like, what are you? They ask me, I'm Filipino, they're like, okay, so what are you good at? Are you a dancer? Are you a singer? And I'm like, I'm a dancer.
Or a nurse.
Like, I know, yeah. It's like you have to be good at something in the arts or in a medical field, and I think that's what's exciting too, because in traditional media, people look down on Asians at some point because they get cast in Asian roles and they can't really do much else. But like on YouTube and in the community, if you're Asian, you're good at everything. So I think it kind of works to our advantage too. It's like, yeah, I'm Asian. I don't really have to work hard except for things I'm not already good at. then you have to work really hard, or just, you know, elevating the craft that you're naturally given. But really, if you're Asian, you're good at something already, so we're killing it.
Definitely let people know if you're bad at math. That always helps. I'm terrible at math.
Me too.
That's why we're in
did
the
say
arts.
math.
See, I don't understand the word math, so that's I don't hear it. Have you ever been told that you couldn't do something because you were Asian, or like Ashley, have you ever pitched something and you know, needed approval from the higher ups, and they were just like, I don't get that. Nobody's gonna like it.
Yeah, you know, at BuzzFeed, it's not, thank God, like, it's not a higher up pitching thing. That's, I think, why exactly what Eugene's talking about, where all these shows have kind of emerged with Asian leads, is because it was just those producers who had those ideas. And so it's not something, whoever has the best idea wins. It's very, like, Darwinian. But, like, I do think a lot about how if I had gone the traditional Hollywood route, I would be literally no one, and no one would cast me in anything, because they would have expected me to be just somebody's best friend. Like when we started Violet, the whole reason we started it was because all of the characters that we saw were side characters, and like none of my friends were main characters or anything, because it was some like blonde white girl who I didn't have a personal relationship to. And so I do think a lot about, thank God at BuzzFeed it's not that way, but I do think in traditional Hollywood that's still the way things go, where people try and size you up and try and decide where you belong and how popular you should be before they even know you.
Yeah. Anybody else have bad stories about people being mean?
No, in art, it's
white splainers.
in art it's kind of easy. I mean, they see our art more than our faces, so we're kind of ghosts in that sense, which I like. It's my face.
That's how it should be.
Yeah,
It's your
totally.
art and not your face.
Totally.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember, like, diversifying within Asians, you know. So in a lot of these panels, I've been on a lot of these types of panels, we always talk about the first step is like, how do we get away from the stereotype? And at first, when I first became popular, a lot of people attributed it to me being gross and naked and sexual and nasty, which I am those things, but they're like, you're so anti-Asian, and like, I'm glad you're not like feminine, and you know, it got to a point where I was like, but we're not helping the stereotype if you're only putting up people that you think are opposite of the stereotype. So we need more of everyone. That's the problem, is the number and how many times we see those types of people. So even on this panel, I'm seeing a great amount of diversity, which I think is great, but that's kind of where we need to get to, where we just kind of accept that we can inhabit a lot of different perspectives and not all have to share the same tone, if that makes sense.
So what things are you guys doing to help, you know, get our stories out there, and what can these guys out there do to get those stories, to get the visibility, to get our Asian stories out there?
Go for it.
I mean, I consume a lot of Asian-driven media, so, you know, I'm aware of what, like, Wong Fu's doing and ISA and like NBC Asian America. Shout out to all those guys, BuzzFeed, you know. So wherever I can, I try to uplift that.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if any of you guys deal with this really, but as, you know, somebody that, you know, grew up Asian and still Asian, but you know,
Now white.
making art was really hard growing up, you know? Like, like when you find something that you like as a kid and it makes your mom cry, you know what I mean? So it's like, I actually stopped drawing my whole life, and I didn't start drawing until 22, which was only 6 years ago. And, you know, that was kind of the biggest conflict for me, was the parental kind of understanding. And it took a while for me to mature enough to understand my mom's perspective. You know, they came over in a time where there wasn't time to sit down and make pretty pictures, you know what I mean? So that was kind of the only rift I had. But I feel like, if anything, to the question is showing that you can do something that is deemed unsuccessful by a lot of Asian American parents, and being an example of success, you know, and showing that you can do this.
Yeah, I think a lot about storytelling in terms of, like, again, like, not from the Asian first perspective, but by default, because I'm Asian, it's an Asian story. So it doesn't have to be always about food or culture or Asianness in such an explicit way. And I'm also a quarter Cuban, which is like the part of me that I actually, you know, I speak Spanish, and like that's a weird thing to be Asian and feel Cuban inside. But I think because of that reason, I just try and tell stories that are relatable to me and my friends on a more human level. And then because I'm Asian, there's representation there. And that way, I think that's the easiest way to not write stereotypes. Like I had a couple of friends who their advice is if you're writing a screenplay and you write a role for a man, just change it to a woman and you'll see how much those unconscious biases play in of like, women tend to be very passive characters and women don't get the same kind of exciting roles. And so even just switching those things or making an Asian character, you know, your character who you wrote as white and not writing them as that and then just cast that with an Asian actor. I really appreciate what Shonda Rhimes does where she writes all the roles and none of them have race in them. And that's why you have such a diverse cast because she's open to seeing everybody play those roles.
Excellent answer. You guys want to ask questions? There's a microphone right there.
Oh, there
You
is.
can line up at the microphone.
You can touch Eugene's
Don't be
hair.
scared. Don't be scared.
No, you can't. No one's allowed to.
Ooh, look at this.
Hi,
Hi. What's your name?
I'm Bella.
Hi, Bella.
I want to ask Ashley and Eugene about moving up in BuzzFeed as a minority. What held you back? How did it motivate you to go further?
Ooh. Gene, you want to take this first?
No, you took it first. Ladies first.
I don't have an answer yet.
I don't think it's interesting because the great thing about, and I don't think it's just BuzzFeed, I think it's just the way we try to support digital content, is that we talk a lot about unique voices, but it's true, it does rise above the rest in the end. And I can only think that it helped because, to be honest, there is no other place I could have been in traditional media where I would have ever gotten to the place where I am now. When I was a USC film student, I was writing for all these really edgy things that were like very Asian but angry and dark and sad and serious because I very much thought that was the way I could get ahead, which it probably would have been. I would have been great on the independent film circuit. But just me being myself and being a minority on camera and being honest is what got me to where I am now. And that only was helped by being at somewhere like BuzzFeed. I wouldn't have known that if I wasn't given that environment to play in.
Yeah, I think a lot of being a kid is wanting to be the opposite of what you are and not wanting to be Asian and not wanting to be, for me, I'm queer also and I didn't want to be gay and I didn't want to be Asian and I didn't want to be anything that I was. And a lot of growing up is kind of figuring out a point where first you're okay with that and then you're proud of that. And so by the time I got to BuzzFeed, and you know what? Not even by the time I got to BuzzFeed, because I think it's a really dangerous myth to tell children that just one day you'll feel better, because it takes a lot of work to start to love yourself. And BuzzFeed helped me do that. Like even being gay, it was a really scary thing to come out, like for my character to come out, and it was at the same time, or roughly the same time that I was coming out. But that, seeing myself act that out on screen helped me feel more comfortable with myself. So I do think that Eugene's totally right. It's just like we got really lucky being at BuzzFeed, but I think it is something where, you know, the thing that actually helped us the most was that we were different and that we were super loud, both of us. Like no one at BuzzFeed wanted to be in front of the camera, and the loud people got called to the front.
That's really inspiring. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Erica.
Hey, Erica.
So I was born and raised in California in like predominantly Asian communities, very like mainly Chinese. And then 7 years ago I moved to Shanghai.
Closer to the mic, please.
Sorry, so I've been living in Shanghai for like 7 years. So I've never really experienced any like racial Asian, like Chinese, like predominant slurs until actually a couple days ago. I came here for VidCon and I was at the hotel and there were these, white guys and they were just screaming at me and they were like saying random things and all I could understand was chao mian. Like I think that was what they were saying.
Wow.
But then my sister and her friend were freaking out and then I basically said, please, fuck off. And then they threw a drink at me and I was just like, oh my god, that's never happened to me in my entire life. I'm 17 and I don't want to deal with that emotionally.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that happened.
What do they look like so I can go
Awful. I
fuck
know,
them up?
seriously.
That's fucked up.
Eugene just hitting random white guys. We're like, no, it's not.
Wouldn't be the first time.
So it's a question basically how to deal with racism. And I'm sure we get a lot of racist comments online. And oh, honey.
No, it's okay.
You're fine.
No, totally. That is, it's rough. It's like somebody who doesn't, the thing that I think about the most is people who do those things to you, it's not about you. It's about the hate that's in their heart and the insecurities they have and however they were raised that they have to feel superior or they feel scared or afraid. And you have to know that, like, you being you in the world is all that you can do, and you deserve to be here just like anyone else. And you can't, that is completely their thing, and it's so hard. And you have to do self-care, and sometimes on Twitter you just have to not read the comments or not read the mentions or read about people saying things about you being Asian. But that has nothing to do with what type of person you are. You are a beautiful person, and you know that.
Can you guys share any other stories about how you handled racism online?
I'm sorry?
Ways that you guys handled racism online?
Again, I don't really, I don't know. I mean, it's Ashley, I couldn't say better than Ashley, really. I mean, these people are just, they're just trolls in general, right? They're just, when they speak, they're speaking to hear themselves or for other people to hear them. But, save those beautiful tears for when, it's a personal thing. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not a personal, when it's something like that where it's just being shouted at you, kids will be kids, you know what I mean? And, just don't even give them time of day.
Sometimes I listen to Shake It Off. It really helps.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing though is good to come forward and talk about it, because I think something that the Asian culture in particular is bad about is not talking about mental health and things that actually personally affect you, like bullying. And I'm more open about it, but I was bullied constantly as a kid because I was the only Asian family in a predominantly white city in Texas. I dealt with it by making Play-Doh figurines of my bullies and then lawnmowering over them. Because I have severe psychological problems. But you deal with it in your own way, but the big thing to remember is that, sometimes you can just accept that you're better than other people. Mm-hmm. Those guys suck. Yeah. And I can't romanticize in a way, but you're going to kind of come to the realization, if you are going to be on your own path, and everyone out there who's been bullied, people sometimes are just shit. They just suck. And I hate to bring it to that conclusion, but one day you're going to be like, yeah, I don't care, because they're not going to have any effect on you in your life. So the big thing is just know that you're stronger than that. You're already better than whatever they're throwing at you. And thank you so much for opening up about it.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know if you've watched Handmaid's Tale, but there's this line in it that she finds a Latin thing, and it says "Nolite te bastardo carbudorum," and it means "Don't let the bastards get you down." And I'm gonna get it tattooed on me.
Hi, my name's Camille.
Hi, Camille.
And I'm like, hi, Eugene.
Hi.
Oh, sorry.
She's bowing.
I bow.
We all bow.
Bow to the queen. So I grew up in a Filipino Chinese household.
Closer to the mic, please.
Oh, sorry. So I grew up in a Filipino Chinese household, and I've had this. My parents have or I don't know if I speak for all Asian Americans, but sometimes our parents are always telling us to take a certain path, especially be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, etc., somewhere in the STEM field. And I don't know about some people, from my personal experiences, Asian parents are extremely strict and always want their children to follow a certain path. And seeing you guys as creators and being talented as being talented, sorry, I want my parents to see this. Being talented and being you guys is just really, really inspiring. So, what advice do you have for kids or Asian Americans or anyone in general who's wanting to meet their parents' expectations but have something else in their heart that they really want to do?
I think it's a matter of perspective. I think your parents are super worried, all of our parents are super worried, and they all show it in very different human ways, you know what I mean? So sometimes when we're super worried, our judgment gets hazy, and our decision making gets really hazy. So it's important to understand where your parents are coming from. And it took me a long time. I used to be really angsty, and I used to not communicate to my mom how the art world worked, and how am I actually going to sustain a living making art. And what really changed for me is, moving out and calling her and talking to her, weekly and telling her like, oh yeah, this thing happened, this thing happened, this thing happened. And it didn't happen overnight, like she still gets super, she probably texts me during this panel telling me to do something. So, they're just worried. They love you so much that they don't even know what to do with it. You know what I mean? So you gotta just communicate and have perspective.
The funny thing is that I feel like I've seen, like most of the people on this panel, I've seen their parents in a video or something. Yeah.
Hi, Cookie.
Come around.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll pass it to you after this. This is speaking from experience. My parents, I grew up also in a Filipino household, and my parents wanted me to be a nurse or a dentist. She wanted me to do anything besides what I wanted to do, and I had to convince them by leading by example because they really still didn't believe it, not in me, but like he said, your parents are so worried, and all they want to do is make sure that you're successful because you're going to go off and do your own thing and have your own family, and they just want to make sure that the 18 years of an investment that they put into you is worth it, and they are so hyper worried. But I think the turning point in my life was showing my parents that I could be successful. They're like, how are you ever going to make a career off dance? And I said, you know what, I have no idea. But then I booked Step Up, and then I brought home and then I brought home paychecks, and then I would pay for their groceries. And then they're like, oh, we get it now. And then they start to let go of the reins a little bit once they realize that, oh, you're not just going to be an actual starving artist. You're literally bringing food home to us. So I think it's a little just hard for the older generation to understand because that's the path that they went, and they just want to make sure that we're okay. If you do what you want to do, you're going to be successful because you're going to want to do it and you're going to thrive there. So I would just say follow your heart, be weary of and know that there's going to be hard times, but if you really love something, you're going to make it work. Yes.
Also, I think one thing is our parents, especially in Asian cultures, are very closed off. We have to do something that I wish I did when I was younger, which is engage them more, because the one tip I can give is like, we just did a fatherhood series where we flew my dad out. I did not know he had sex with women before my mom. Like, all of y'all think about going up to your dad and be like, who did you bang before, Mom? Like, it's not something Asians talk about, but you would be surprised at how much they open up if we engage them, because they all come from like war-torn countries and have dealt with racism and like struggle to get us here. So I think they're really thinking for like, where can my child be safe and successful? But one thing I say is around family dinner, bring up some real awkward conversation topics. Like, be like, Dad, what drugs did you experiment with in the 70s? Because all y'all's parents grew up in the 70s and they did tons of drugs.
Thanks, Eugene.
I should not give advice to children, I'm so sorry. Except for Cookie. Cookie's an angel. That's Ashley's mom.
That's a great answer. Thanks, Emil.
Thanks, guys, so much. You guys, I love you.
Hi.
I like that shirt. I need that.
Weird.
This is weird.
Give it to us.
My name is Kiana, and I'm half Korean, half Persian, and I get bullied a lot in school and picked on.
Closer to the mic, please. Sorry.
I get bullied and picked on a lot in school for being Korean, and I don't know why I get picked on, and people call me a Korea boo at times, even though I don't know what to do, and it annoys me a lot because I tell them to stop, and it hasn't been stopping at all.
Wow.
Jeez.
Man, you gotta show them K-pop and be like, we are superior in every way. Eugene, I feel like you should talk about this because you grew up, you're Korean and grew up in Texas. Pretty non-Korean.
Yeah, I think one big thing is, on the positive side, the proliferation of K-pop is really interesting. When I was growing up, like, the idea that kids shared K-pop now, and then like they all, like, BTS won Billboard Music Awards, and that was huge. But that never would have happened a year ago, 10 years ago. You're ahead of the curve. That's the big thing. And it's weird that they're throwing Koreaboo as like a insult, because it's kind of like, that's very like in a comments, deep in the comments section type of read on someone.
Also, it's delicious. Be like, have you tried it? It's so good.
But yeah, the best thing is like, anytime someone pushed me one direction, not one direction, but anytime someone pushed me in one direction, my instinct was to run away from what they said was bad about me. I tried to be very un-Korean. I tried to be really white, and that only destroyed me mentally. And when I realized I just have to be more Korean and throw it in their face, then they couldn't touch me. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying yo kimchi. I guess that's my catchphrase now, yo kimchi. But you gotta like really own that, you know, because you're half Korean side, especially if you're mixed. Like I know a lot of mixed people literally within themselves genetically wonder like where am I identifying with? What do I do? I had the curse and the gift of being like, oh, I'm Korean, I can't really escape it. But you have to identify hard and like represent. And also, there's no other way around that. Yeah, don't run away from it.
And just remembering that, like, you know, high school is such a small part of your life experience. Like, it's very important to remember that, because I had most people don't have a good time in high school, but you will find your people. You'll find them on the internet for now. Like, I wish I had Tumblr when I was a kid, because you can find your people. So it is hard, and you know, keep hard. But one day, all those stories will be all the things that make you interesting and the things that make you stronger.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're beautiful. These are great shirts. Eat people.
Do you eat people?
Are you a cannibal?
Eat people?
Maybe. Is this close enough? Is this okay?
Closer.
Okay. Hi, my name is Pierce. I'm a gay, transgender Thai person. I wanted to talk about the Southern darker Asians, or even like lighter Asians, being fetishized, and also the effeminate stereotype for Asian men.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all of that.
Oh, okay.
Fetishization.
And the effeminate stereotype for Asian men.
So the idea that Asian women should be very Dragon Lady-esque and like fetishized to an exotic extent, submissive.
A lot of South Asian trans women are like, oh, it's a thing, like joking about women with, like men wearing dresses, or oh man, that woman has a penis, and it's very transphobic.
Was your question how to combat that? Or?
Yeah, or how any of you have dealt with that.
I actually have a trans sibling who recently came out, and it's been a learning process for me as well. And I think it's just a learning process for society right now. Like, we're, 20 years ago when Ellen came out, she lost her show, she lost everything, and that made me terrified to come out as gay, because it seemed like the world would never be okay with me being gay. And I think, unfortunately, we're in that place for trans rights right now, where people don't really understand, and they're not taking the time to see beyond what people present on the outside are, and that they're real humans. So I think we're in this interesting point where I've learned that the most important thing that we can all do is be allies for people who don't have the privilege that we do. So even now, as a gay woman, I have privilege that my trans sibling doesn't have, that I have to be an advocate for trans rights, because you can't advocate for yourself when you're the one being oppressed, which is part of being Asian as well. But I do think it's getting better, and I think that we have to keep having these discussions and being really open. But it's really important for everyone here to think about, we're minorities and used to being minorities for being Asian, but think about where you have privilege too. If you're cisgender, or if you're a male, or where does your privilege come, and who are the allies that you can help?
Even education. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Mulan, and
hi, Mulan.
What?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Mulan. The Huang family. The Yi family.
Is he
We
just
can
playing
call Mulan
sound
all
bites off of
day.
his phone? They sound so real.
It's
All right, so this is a more political question. To better represent the Asian population on the quote, global warming is a myth made up and for the Chinese, what question would you ask the current administration, or ask Sean Spicer?
Oh, I love that question.
That is so well asked. Like, pronunciation on point.
Sorry, I do speech and debate.
Wow.
I would ask the current administration, what the fuck?
A good question to ask.
Are you going to pay for the Xanax that I need to live through the next 4 years? And the answer is no, because they do not support healthcare. Andrew comes from Canada. We're going to come with you.
I'm sitting down.
I would say that has to to be false because if you know any Asian person, like the sun is the mortal enemy. So I don't think that would be the last thing the Chinese would make up. If anything, it would be like frozen tundra for everyone. No scarves or hats or umbrellas.
True. We want to touch this further?
No, I love the question.
Thank God we don't have to talk. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You should be a journalist. That was a great question.
You have the best name in history.
Hi, my name's Sarah. I was wondering if there was a moment like in your life where you felt just like really proud to be like Asian. Like I don't know.
Right now.
Oh my God.
I'm learning a lot.
Sure, it's a good time for us.
I'm proudest to be Asian at Thanksgiving when all my aunts and uncles are taking pictures of the food. It cracks me up. We can't eat for like 20 minutes as everyone has to take a picture of each dish.
I can't remember a time that I wasn't proud. Elementary school, when I just wanted to be a white tomboy. Other than that, it became really cool in middle school and high school, and now it's just really cool to be Asian. So like we're lucky, kind of. I don't know. Some else has probably a better answer than just my whole life. I'm proud.
I mean, I grew up in a pretty white conservative town in Canada, so I did not think about what it meant to be Asian or the fact that I even was really different until I started creating YouTube videos, and I was getting like a quarter of the comments on one of our biggest videos is just racist, the worst thing. So I thought, well, like, why is this such a big deal to people that an Asian person would represent Canada or whatever? So I started digging deeper into, YouTube allowed me to discover K-pop, fell in love with Big Bang, and I started traveling out. But I started traveling and I realized like Asians have all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like culturally, food, our transportation, everything. I mean, I could sit here and list them all off, but yeah, I mean, for me, it was really creating content and putting it out there and getting hate, and then trying to figure out, well, there's got to be something here.
Yeah, I personally really dislike myself, but that's just like how I am. It's just I'm a very self-deprecating person. I'm most inspired when I'm meeting Ashley or seeing everyone appear in all of y'all. When I see other Asians killing it, that's when I feel a lot of pride. Which if you are like me and you're kind of just a darker weirdo who just doesn't like a lot of things, seeing other Asians do well inspires me to do better. So
Eugene's like the Grinch. His heart grows 3 sizes every time he sees an Asian.
Yeah, my heart started this tiny.
Now I gotta say, discovering Eugene on BuzzFeed a couple years ago opened my whole mind to what the possibilities of what you can do with Asian hair. Because for the longest time, I had the same exact hairstyle. So I gotta thank you for that.
Stay after this. We'll do a full tutorial.
I've already requested that video for him. So
don't make any promises you can't keep. Thank you. I love you.
Hello.
Hi.
How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
My name is Heejin. I'm from Long Island, New York, and my entire life I grew up in a predominantly white community. I was the only Korean girl in the community, and it wasn't until my freshman year of high school that I realized my mentality was very problematic, because in middle school and elementary school I was like, Asians, or they're never gonna give me a license because I'm a girl and I'm Asian. And I was it wasn't until high school I had that glass shattering moment that I was like, wow, that's really shitty of you to think that way, Asian. I was wondering if any of y'all had the same experience when you were younger or even recently. Yeah.
It is so easy to make a joke about yourself before someone else does, because you don't want to get hurt. And so a lot of my life was that same thing, making jokes about being Asian and starting off a conversation with a bunch of white people being like, I'm bad at math. You go through all the funny things about being Asian because you don't want anyone to say them to you because it's hurtful. But I do think it is dangerous too to constantly put that self-hate on you, because even though it seems like you're deflecting it, you're really just putting yourself down. So it's amazing that you had that moment, but it didn't come for me for a long time when I kind of realized that I was just like very anti-myself, you know, where everyone else was so proud to be where they were a part of. I think, you know, what the Black community does and Black Twitter and the way they support their artists and stuff is something that the Asian community could emulate a lot, of just being more supportive of each other and being more positive and feeling like any little win for one person is a win for the whole community. But I'm glad you had that moment earlier, because sometimes it doesn't come for a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm Leazad. I'm Kazakh, so even most Asians don't know about me ethnicity-wise. So this is not so much a question, but more a statement to like Eugene and Ashley. But is that so? I grew up in a very white area and white family because I'm adopted, and so my only representation was very stereotypical, like quiet and awkward and weird people. And so just what I love about what you guys are doing is the opposite of that. Like you're very loud and like there. And yeah, that's really it.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
I love that shirt.
Hi, I'm Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
I just wanted to say I'm a very big fan of all of you guys. And I think what you guys do is like really important for the Asian American community. Just like you guys like talking about Asian American culture. Like I feel like because I grew up in an Asian American community, I thought that that's what everybody was exposed to. Like for example, like K-pop, I'm not really into K-pop, but I thought everybody knew about K-pop. But then when I saw the Try Guys video on K-pop, I was like, oh, a lot of people don't actually know that it exists or don't know what it is. So I think it's really important you guys even talk about this kind of thing. So yeah. But then my question is, who is your guys' biggest inspiration, and do you think like race plays a part in that? Like for example, like do you guys ever think like, like because I'm Asian, my inspiration is an Asian director, an Asian actor?
My mom's super dope. She honestly, no matter how much me and her don't see eye to eye, like I think like it's really funny, especially like, you know, working on the internet and stuff now, and there's a lot of people that will like come up with a lot of excuses of why they can't do certain things because of time and effort and energy and all that stuff. And every time I get lazy, just like an iota of laziness, I think of my mom and how much she would laugh at me. So I don't even get lazy, you know what I mean? So I just don't tell her how lazy I am. But
That's amazing.
I love that. Sometimes you don't have to look far for inspiration.
Yeah. My mom is here, so I feel like I have to say my mom.
Yes, you do.
But also, I think there are a lot of women in the industry that I look up to. Lucille Ball, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. Mindy Kaling was a big inspiration to me, mainly because, you know, she was the first Asian person that I saw on TV who felt like me at all. She was just like, I'm hungry, and I'm here, and I'm funny, and I'm doing my thing. And like, it was funny though, because that's how little representation that we had, that it was like this Indian woman who really didn't look much like me. It felt so much like the first time I was being seen, so I really appreciate what she's doing.
I love Mindy Kaling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sonia, and I'm half Chinese, half white, and I have two questions for Eugene. First one, have you told your parents that you're not 100% Korean yet from that video? And if so, what was their reaction?
Are you not 100% Korean?
I saw that video.
Genetics video. Okay, so apparently, well, I mean, we're all mixed racially. Everyone's mixed racially at some point, especially in Asia, where they were also all kind of, you know, doing a lot of stuff to each other, and when you're Korean, you know, that being a bridge is not very fun. But yeah, no, they weren't too surprised because they knew that there's probably some dark history there. But yeah, I did tell them. I didn't film it though, because my mom is very private.
Eugene's mom is amazing.
Yeah, they're very shady. But yeah, they know. But yeah, it's interesting. The test is cool because it does show that even as we're always told we're like just 100% Korean or 100% Chinese, but really we're all pretty connected. So yeah, no, they know. They were just glad there wasn't like something totally random in there.
And my second question is, do you feel like being Asian has changed how you like interact with the rest of the Try Guys and kind of the dynamics in that, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's no way we wouldn't be. I mean, there are three of my best friends. If anything, probably my three best friends now. We're all like groomsmen at Keith's wedding. But I do find, it's like in any group of friends, I will catch us on certain things. If anything, I can filter out when I know something isn't quite savory. And we're in a comedic realm, so it's quite often you teeter that line. But yeah, no, I think I'm always keeping a vigilant eye on what is like considered inappropriate versus what's just funny and self-aware. So yeah, no, I'm pretty aware of it. Plus, if you look at us, I'm just like, I call myself the surprise Asian. It's like the Try Guys, 3 white guys, and surprise Asian.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a cool topic.
Okay, so hi, I'm Sierra, and so I know that there are like stereotypes that are like mostly like wide known, just like like the wide known Asian stereotypes. But I was wondering what's one of the lesser known stereotypes that you've had to conquer while like during your time on YouTube. And I was wondering just how you did it and how you also widened the Asian representation while doing that.
I think a lot of people don't think Asians are funny. Like they think Asians are really smart or really serious, but not funny. And so that's something that I love Ali Wong and what she's doing, and San Minaj, and there's so many Asian comedians now that are out there, which feels really cool. And Megan's doing comedy stuff too. So it feels really cool to be able to combat that. But that was something that I didn't really realize, because if someone's funny or they're not, it doesn't have to do with their race.
I've heard that too. It drives me crazy. Asians aren't expressive, or their eyes aren't big enough, or
You're like, express this.
Yeah.
Again, not for the kids, but I didn't know everyone thought all Asians couldn't drink. Which is funny because if you're Asian, certain Asians drink a lot.
Oh yeah.
When I'm Korean, you have one uncle who's out of the family dinner, it's too much in that soju. So it's funny because whenever it's one of those things where it's just one of those small stereotypes that people have, and I just I guess I put it out there more because I knew it was combating it, and we formed it in a joke. I don't condone drinking for anyone at all, but for me personally, it was something that was just another shade that people the kids can say, oh, what are you talking about? Eugene drinks all the time. He's totally chill with it. So it's just as a small enough gesture of just you putting it out there into the world and being 100% behind it. You don't always have to verbally fight it. You just have to, again, with the funniness, you just have to represent it. Representation in circle.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to say too, I think there's this idea that Asian men can't be sexy or sexual. But I mean, or that being the Asian men are, they like to, that it's a bad thing to be feminine. But I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
We need to be accepting of all different types of.
Absolutely. I'm just going to piggyback on what Ashley said with comedy in particular. I don't know if any of you guys are Asian comedians, but one thing that I really dislike in comedy is that a lot of people that are of Asian descent kind of gravitate towards making fun of the race themselves, and that's not funny anymore. I'm as self-deprecating as Eugene, if not, probably not more, but I'm very self-deprecating.
Let's have a contest.
It is. If we're Asian, everything's a contest.
I'm gonna lose.
But yeah, I mean, just a piece of advice: don't use your ethnicity or heritage as a crutch. Don't use it as something that you can amplify. Don't make fun of it because it's not funny. Be proud of what you are and be funny off of that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Glenolyn. I saw Ashley earlier.
Hi.
So a lot of my family doesn't really support me being on YouTube, but my parents do, and they make fun of that, whether it be me actually making my YouTube videos or just me being gay. They make fun of that, and my parents don't really stand up for me. So how do I ease into the conversation of being hey, mom and dad, you gotta stand up for me in the family.
two things. Anyone that makes fun of you is confused. They don't understand, and they're scared. They don't know how to talk to someone, or they're just a really unhappy person with themselves. So as long as you know exactly who you are and you're okay with that, nobody else should make you feel inferior because you have to give them that consent. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with this in such close quarters, but I feel like in any situation, parents, friends, roommates, anyone that has a different opinion than you, come at them from a human standpoint. Tell them how you feel, because people don't get it. And if you express yourself and say, Mom, Dad, this is how I'm feeling, my feelings are being hurt because of you doing this, hopefully they'll have enough, they love you, obviously. Hopefully they'll have enough open-mindedness to try and get on the same page with you. Again, I'm sorry that you have to deal with this, but I hope that they will come around and understand.
And some really easy practical tips for that, just like Megan was saying, sometimes it's better to have those conversations one-on-one so that people don't feel attacked, and use a lot of phrases that are I phrases. So instead of saying you do this and you do that, saying I feel hurt when this happens, then they're able to not be defensive, because everybody is human and gets defensive, and so they probably also realize to some degree that they're not doing it subconsciously. So just telling them exactly how you feel can be a really helpful starting place.
That is nice. We're also therapists.
Yeah, Megan and I will be doing therapy sessions for an hour after this.
If it goes well, we'll start a new channel.
No, it's a really hard world to be in. I know. I mean, you've got your family, and then you've got these strangers out there, lashing out. So yeah, we all need support. So unfortunately, we don't have time for any more questions. I'm so sad. Oh.
Thank you for standing in line.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Can I get a picture with Eugene after this?
We're not
Thank you.
Yeah, we can't have a meet and greet here, but I know that Megan's off to meet and greet right after.
I am, yeah.
Any last words?
I think the one big thing that I noticed with everyone is that you have a universal struggle if you're discussing your parents and living within the sort of stereotypes that are thrown at the Asian community, and you just have to remember that we are all living proof that advancement and progress comes with time and patience and understanding, and that involves also you being able to come to terms with yourself, and a lot of you are very young, and you will get there one day. You will all get there. That's the big thing. And I joke about being self-deprecating, but that's more of my attitude. Really inside, I know it's just owning and loving yourself to the deepest core, and then the Asianness is just a part of that. And you're all beautiful people. So just remember that.